My name is Kaytee. I am a functional medicine dietitian. I'm so grateful to be here today and to be able to talk with you all. So yes, nutrition is going to be a huge part of what we're talking about. We're also going to be talking about toxins, which you mentioned earlier, and these 6 lifestyle pillars. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. I put together a little presentation. Yeah, so today I'm talking about creating a lifestyle that fosters wellness, mind and body, because we know we can't separate the two long term. So just a little intro about me first. My name is Kaytee. I'm a functional medicine dietitian, and I'm the founder of Holistic Health and Wellness. So what does that translate to? That just means that I am, by trade and training, I am a nutritionist, but I take kind of a different approach. I really look at addressing the root causes of symptoms instead of just symptom management to find healing. So I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia, but I actually practice all over the country. So let's talk a little bit more about what root cause medicine means. So I like to use this analogy of a tree, right? So if we think about the leaves, the things we can see, these are our symptoms. The trunk, something we can also kind of see. This might be analogous to the disease itself. But what's underneath the surface? What's really determining the health of the tree? The roots, right? Those are the root causes of what's causing these different symptoms. So just to kind of put this together, let's use the example of diabetes. High blood sugar might be one of the leaves. Insulin resistance is the trunk, and the root causes come back to lifestyle. Nutrition, toxins, again, these 6 pillars. So by using this framework, this is really what can provide long-term healing versus, again, just symptom management. And again, we're talking about both physical and mental health here. We want to address these imbalances to create long-term health. But what is health really? And I love to kind of use this little phrase that it's really just a tool that we use to live our best life, right? If we don't have the health that we want, that we need, we're prevented from really living that life. So we need this tool. And yet 40% of Americans have a chronic disease, 1 in 5 has a mental illness, and our lifespan is only 78 years here. What's more saddening than that, though, is the health span. So this is the number of years that we live on average, healthy, functioning, 66 years. That's not many. What about those other 12 years? So we really want to focus on, again, addressing these and reversing these root causes to create that health so that we can live into our 90s functioning at our optimal. So what is it that really influences health and root causes? For a long time, we thought it was just genetics, right? I'm destined to get X, Y, and Z. But now we know that genetics only really makes up about 20% of health outcomes because it's influenced by all of these other aspects, our experiences, our environment, and especially our lifestyle, which is what we're talking about today. So our lifestyle can literally turn on and off our genes, our genetic expression. So this is what's really, really key. So these are the 6 lifestyle pillars. So I put these together based on my varying, experiences in education. My background was psychology, and I was like, this is great, right? We need to understand mental health. But then I realized, but what about physical health? Physical health influences mental health and vice versa. So I got into fitness and studied fitness, and I realized movement's important, but what about nutrition, right? So we have to take all of these aspects of lifestyle and really look at them together. Otherwise, we're not taking really a full holistic approach. So I want to dive into each of these 6 pillars and just give a bit more of an explanation of the why, the what, and the how we can start to create a sustainable lifestyle. Because this is really key. We live, in a society of diets and 30-day challenges and trends, and we go on and off of them and stress ourselves out about it. And yet, if we focused on creating a sustainable lifestyle, we could do it year round. And so that's what I really want to emphasize today. So let's start by talking about nutrition. And please, if questions come up, please feel free to type them in the chat. If you also see information that you find helpful here, feel free to take a picture too with your phone, because we're going to be covering quite a bit. So, nutrition. Speaking of all these quick fixes, right? We live in a diet culture, and so much of this is focused on weight. But we know that weight doesn't necessarily equal health, right? We can lose weight in a very unhealthy way. Food is so much more than just energy in the form of calories. It's literally information to our cells, to our bodies, telling us how to function. And so we need to shift from focusing on that weight and just calories and really focusing on nourishing our bodies from the inside out. As a society, I see us taking away, right? Cut out this food and cut out this food. And yet, every single client that I work with, I find that we're actually not getting enough nourishment. We actually need to add nutrients. The second part of this is, what is our relationship to food, right? This is another reason why diet culture is so toxic, because that relationship of restriction can be so detrimental. So not only is it detrimental for our body, but it's detrimental for our mind. So the most foundational place to start with nutrition is to stop restricting and start adding. These are the foundational pieces to start focusing on. Focusing more on plants. Look at your plate. If it's not at least 50 to 75 to ideally 90% plus plants, that's going to be all of the nutrients that we need. Focusing on colors. So we have our proteins, our fats, our carbs. We also have our vitamins and minerals, but we also have something called phytonutrients. It's literally the colors in plants have health benefits. So trying to get all of the colors of the rainbow every day if possible. And then also trying to incorporate diversity. The more diversity in our diet, the more diversity overall for our gut health, more diversity for vitamins and minerals and nutrients. The reason why I call this personalized nutrition, this pillar, is because these are the foundations, but every person is unique in how they're going to implement it into their life. And then, identifying if there are specific needs additionally that they have. So tomorrow I'm giving a talk all about food and the mental health connection. It's called Food and Mood. So definitely tune into that one if you want to dive deeper into this pillar. All right, so up next we have functional fitness. So fitness is absolutely essential to health, and not having a good level of it actually contributes to many chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and even short-term consequences. One I see a lot is constipation. But it also contributes to mental health, mood disorders, anxiety. I think there's a really big misconception here though, because often people associate fitness with like a beach body or, lifting heavy weights in the gym. But the goal of functional fitness is to just be able to do the things you want to do. Maybe it's getting down on the floor and playing with your kids or grandkids. Maybe it's, lifting a heavy box without hurting your back, or sitting in the car for a long period of time, or going on that hike on vacation. Again, it's living functionally through our whole lifetime, from beginning to end, that health span. So in order to develop this functional fitness, we want to focus on two things. Yes, the exercise component, but also just movement throughout the day. So exercise, maybe you think of a gym. Let me tell you, I worked in gyms for many years, and you do not need a gym membership to exercise. These are some of the goals that you want to work towards: getting your heart rate up, working your muscles, stretching, balance, agility, but really focusing on the activities that you enjoy. And just starting where you're at. If you don't have any type of exercise in your life right now, that's okay. Maybe you go for a walk with the dog and get your heart rate up a little bit, or do some air squats. Start where you're at. You don't need the fancy equipment if you don't want it. The second piece to this is movement. So this is a bit different because in addition to exercise, which we know we need, we also need regular movement throughout the day. Sitting all day is literally killing us. We want to be standing, moving, mixing it up. That's the key. So here are a couple different ideas. So try to make a standing desk if you can. There are little attachments you can put on your desk to stand up if you're sitting most of the day. Set a timer for a little stretch break. You can take calls while you're walking or even, get up every 30 minutes. So these are the two aspects of fitness. Next up, we have optimizing our circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is our sleep-wake cycle. But every organ, every cell, every tissue in our body has a 24-hour cycle. So literally down to our cells. And this needs to be synced with the outside world. When it's out of sync, we develop all kinds of root cause imbalances. Our brain, when our sleep-wake cycle is optimized at nighttime, our brain literally gets like a bath of fluid to help cleanse it so we can be restored for the day. Our liver, oh my gosh, our liver needs that rest too. So we want to make sure two things: that our circadian rhythm is synced with the outside world, so we're awake when it's bright and we sleep when it's dark. That's why shift work can be so detrimental. But the second piece is we want to have consistency. We want to make sure that our lifestyle tells our body when to wake up and when to go to sleep. A lot of people that I talk with have a hard time sleeping, and they ask, what can I do at night? And I say, no. What can you do during the day? Because it's not just when you get into bed. If you're having trouble sleeping, it's telling us the whole cycle is off. So I've put together just a couple recommendations on how to sync your circadian rhythm. I've done whole workshops on this in the past, so if you want to get a hold of those, feel free to send me a message and I can send that to you. But consistency is key. We actually can develop what's called social jet lag, which is on the weekends we tend to stay up a little later, go to bed later, or wake up later. Our schedule's just a bit off. And this creates a social jet lag as if we had flown across the country. And our cells feel that, our tissues feel that. So having a consistent wake time and bedtime, ideally within about an hour of the norm. During the day, get bright light in your eyeballs. Outdoor light is necessary. Indoor light doesn't cut it, and unfortunately, even windows can filter out some of those really beneficial molecules. So go outside in the morning and look around, get some sunlight into your eyes. This will help sync that. Similarly, at nighttime, when the sun goes down, dim the lights, turn off the overhead lights, and try to create that, sort of an ambiance there, because the light tells our body when to sleep and when to wake up. Nutrition plays a really big role in syncing the circadian rhythm too. Make sure you're getting consistent, nutritious meals throughout the day. If you're feeling sluggish in the morning, that's a really good indicator that you need a nutritious breakfast. Similarly, we usually want to stop eating a couple hours before bed so that our body can go into that resting phase. We want to also think about keeping the bedroom cool and dark. The temperature, again, actually impacts our sleep. You're gonna notice why when it's really hard to sleep during the summer. That's why. It's hard to sleep when it's warm. And finally, think about other substances. Caffeine, it takes 6 hours for half of the caffeine to leave our system. So if you have a cup of coffee at 2, 6 hours later at 8, half of it's still in your system. 6 hours later, in the wee hours of the morning, you still have a quarter cup of coffee in your system. So I usually recommend to stop drinking caffeine after noon. And then finally, try to limit alcohol, as it does have a sedative effect, but not a sleep effect. So it actually interferes with our sleep. So again, I could talk about this all day, but I wanted to give you a couple little insights as to where you can start. So let's move on to our next pillar, reducing our toxic load. So our bodies are well equipped to handle toxins. Don't get me wrong. Our kidneys, our liver, those are two of the main organs that do this. But also when we breathe, sweat, pee, poop, all of these are ridding our body of toxins. So we want to make sure that all of those systems are functioning well. Unfortunately, with our modern society, our bodies are overloaded with toxins every day. This statistic scares me every time I look at it. Women put 168 chemicals on their bodies before they even leave the house. Skincare products, makeup. Unfortunately, in the US, our regulations for chemicals in our skincare are very, very poor compared to other countries. So we have a lot of chemicals in our products that we know actually cause harm. One of the main things, the main mechanisms that these toxins do in the body is they disrupt our hormones. And that has consequences across the board. So we want to think about reducing the exposure to the toxins and then helping our bodies naturally get rid of the toxins, because we often have these breakdowns in the different processes. So for example, digestion. If you're not having a bowel movement every day, those toxins aren't able to get out and are then going to be recycled. If we're not staying hydrated, if we're not sweating, if we're not nourishing our body with the vitamins and the minerals. So these are, again, some foundational ways to optimize your body's ability to get rid of the toxins. Also, of course, make sure that you're limiting your exposure. On the left here, we have so many places that we find toxins. A couple of my favorite resources are, there's an app called Think Dirty, Live Clean. And you can literally scan the barcode of your deodorant or your face wash or your shampoo, and it will rate kind of how quote unquote dirty or toxic it is based on the chemicals in it. So again, that's called Think Dirty, Live Clean. The EWG also has some really good databases for this, for water contamination, things like that. And finally, I would definitely recommend knowing some of the signs and symptoms of toxin overload. So let's move on to our fifth pillar, daily mindfulness. I think, I love that I'm speaking to this group because I feel like sometimes in some crowds, I have to kind of convince people that this is important. And I feel like you all know that. That's why you're here. So this conversation about healthy living just isn't complete without addressing the mental component of this. And when we think about mental health, we now know that it's one with physical health. It's bi-directional. So our mental state impacts our physical health, and our physical health impacts our mental health. So this component of mindfulness is really essential to wellness. So we talked about how our relationship with food, our relationship with movement is important. And then this is that other aspect of having a proper practice, just like we would have a fitness routine, having a mindfulness routine. We spend so much of our time in the past or in the future, and mindfulness just helps us to be here now. And there's something so incredibly powerful about that. Not only can it have mental health benefits like reducing stress and anxiety, but it can improve digestion, blood pressure, and even pain. So many benefits here. And what's beautiful about mindfulness is there are so many different ways to go about it. Meditation, breathing, self-hypnosis, but also movement practices like yoga, tai chi, and there's actually mindful eating practices. One of my favorite free resources is called Insight Timer. And it's an app that you can download, and it has yoga videos and meditation, guided meditations, and again, mindfulness eating practices. And then also thinking about self-talk. Maybe you enjoy journaling or visualization. These are all different kind of flavors of mindfulness. So like I said, I love the app Insight Timer, also Headspace, Calm. These are all really great resources. And our last pillar is supportive community. I often hear folks and new clients say, I just need more willpower. I need someone to hold me accountable because it really comes down to self-control. And I kind of call, BS a little bit here because I don't think that that's what's happening. What I find is that folks don't have enough support. No one can go about any of this alone. Not only do we need emotional support from our friends, from our family members, but we also need tangible support and guidance, right? How many contradictory nutrition philosophies have you heard out there, right? How do you decipher what works for you and your body? Who do you know who to listen to? So it's both of these aspects is really the way I see this pillar is have a group of like-minded individuals to support you who value the same things that you value when it comes to your health. And also have someone or a healthcare team who's really on the same page as you. Because this is something I see every day in my own practice, I just wanted to outline it more here. Your healthcare team, they should listen to you, not interrupt you. They should validate your experiences, not correct you. I've heard people say, oh, there's no way you could know, your thyroid levels are off. Meanwhile, the person's saying, I can feel it in my body. That's a valid experience, and you deserve to be working with someone who validates that. Your healthcare provider should also be guiding you, not telling you, working with you and your goals. Again, not saying take this when you want to actually go this direction, right? If you want to reverse your diabetes, find someone who's going to help you do that instead of just managing the symptoms. So that alignment of values is really key. And again, helping you get to the root causes by addressing these different lifestyle aspects. So our takeaways. Remember, the leaves are there, we can see them, but the roots are really what's going on under the surface. That's where we can find true healing. Create a sustainable lifestyle using these 6 pillars and customize it to your unique needs and get the support, the guidance that you need and deserve. It's not about willpower, it's about having the tools, the education, and the support. And I just kind of want to leave you with this, that again, health is a tool to live your best life. And if you don't feel like you're living yours, start digging deeper to get to those roots. So thank you all so much for giving me the time, sharing your energy with me. Again, my name is Kaytee. I am doing private sessions this weekend. If you want to scan the QR code with your phone or just go online to schedule one of those. If you have questions about your health, root cause approach, or just nutrition in general. Outside of here, I do offer one-on-one, and I also have a group membership of like-minded folks. So again, thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions if we have time.
Can you stop the screen sharing? There we go. All right, thank you so much, Kaytee. So, actually, our next presentation with Rachel, she couldn't make it to the expo this weekend. Something came up, so we actually don't have anything at 3 o'clock. So we do have a little bit of extra time if that's okay with Kaytee, and if there is anyone that has any specific questions, then we have time for you to jump in and ask away if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to mention too that my experience again, like I started out saying that I've been shifting my eating too, and I do have to say though, for me, one of the toughest things is just breaking habits, and because the whole world has been trained really to eat incorrectly, and they're also brainwashed to think that they are eating correctly, and we're so far from it. So it is also hard when all that is around you. There's so much sugar around you and fast food and all that kind of stuff. It is a challenge. I mean, it's funny because eating right is one of the most simplest things you can do, and it's so easy to do, but it's one of the most difficult choices to stick to because of the influences around us, you know, and that's been a lot of the struggle that I've seen and kind of experienced. And but I'm also happy to see there's so many new like healthier fast food places popping up, and that's really what we need is more healthy choices.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I love this saying. I read it in a book. Um, it's simple, but it's not easy. And to your point, convenience plays a role, right? Taste plays a role. We don't live in this bubble of just, oh, eat your fruits and veggies. And like, food is so unique and I think beautiful, and that it plays so many roles for us. Yes, it's nourishment, it's information, but it's also community and culture and sometimes comfort, right? What do we do at birthday parties and funerals and when we're happy and when we're sad, right? We eat. And so to find, that's why I focus so much on eating patterns and sustainability so that we can allow for all roles of food. But to your point, we need more tools. I mean, education is just the foundational piece. Oh my gosh, I don't know about any of you, but I got zero nutrition education up until I literally studied it, went for my master's degree because I was like, this is crazy. There's so much out there. So we don't have the education. Our society isn't built, like you said, with the fast food and all of that. It isn't really built to support nutrition, healthful nutrition choices. So that's big too. So yeah, I agree. Simple but not easy. And that's another way that, really having some support, whether it's education or guidance, and really just kind of figuring out what's going to work for you because everyone's different. I know some people who they're like, I just won't buy it. If I don't want to eat it, I won't buy it. And then other people say, no, I want to buy it and just enjoy it a little bit here and there. So again, that's where that personalized piece really comes in. But thanks for sharing your experiences. I can definitely relate.
Yeah.
I can relate to functional medicine as well. I had mold poisoning in my basement, and I was so fatigued and I didn't know what the reason was. So it was only until I met a functional medicine doctor and I did air quality report samples, and I found out I was fatigued because the black mold I had. So I did a whole mold remediation. I changed my diet and took supplements to help detox my body. And after 2 years, I finally started to feel better when the mold was completely gone, and I got my life back. And I definitely can vouch for the nutrition aspect and detoxing, because especially when you have mold, that's a very dangerous situation.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. I'm
You're
so
welcome.
sorry you experienced that. And
Yeah,
I'm so glad that you found someone who could kind of support you and guide you through that. That sounds so terrifying.
it
You know,
was. It was affecting my health. My fatigue was all caused from this mold. I had wood paneling, so I don't know what was behind it in my basement. So it's all waterproof now. So
yeah. And sometimes finding those root causes, to your point, it's not easy. Like you said,
no,
you
it's not.
don't see it.
People can go years without even knowing, especially
Yeah.
mold. They can't see it, and like it's hard to see detect.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know.
Absolutely. I see that a lot too in mold, thinking about gut issues. A lot of people come
Yep.
to me and they're like, I have IBS. There's nothing I can do. And I'm like, have you been tested for parasites, for SIBO, for leaky
Yep.
gut, for food allergies, for sensitivity, right? All of these things that we can't see with the naked eye.
I had leaky gut. I used to have leaky gut.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Great
you.
presentation. Great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? Does anyone else want to jump in, have any questions, or even just want to share part of their journey and story?
Yes, I would like to. Hi there, I'm Anna. Yes, I've had a weight problem since I was, oh my God, probably fifth grade. All sorts of diets, all sorts of stuff. And let me tell you, it has been a big journey. And let me tell you, and I do practice the mindfulness, but my problems occur when I get triggered into eating by, either emotional, whatever I needed for comfort or whatever. And just by going out with people, you go out, and even though I always, take half of the food home, I'm mindful of what I'm looking at, and maybe perhaps, things I eat aren't the best. But, when you go out, there's not that many choices sometimes. But anyway, what would be your recommendations for me, somebody that's been struggling my whole life? I guess, like, these two big key points for me to start thinking about and really expanding myself, because like I said, it's been a difficult journey with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Anna. It sounds like you've really been through a lot, and it sounds like you've tried a lot. And I know how incredibly defeating it is to feel like I'm doing the things and it's not working. Like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Exactly.
I totally feel you. I think a couple things. So, I know you mentioned dieting and going on and off different diets and feeling like they're not working. I would really encourage you to think about what are sustainable changes, like I was talking about earlier, that you can make that don't have the diet quality. And sometimes it takes some, kind of working out to see what that looks like for you. What are some simple swaps you can make to what you're already doing? What are some little strategies you can incorporate for when you do go out to eat? So, identifying, it sounds like you've already identified some of your specific struggles. And it sounds like the next step is really finding little solutions for those to make your life a little easier, because you don't want to be thinking about it and concerned about it all day, every day. You don't want to feel that anxiety when you go out to eat with your friends. I would say again, like I mentioned before, think about adding nutrients. I see this a lot with women who were used to dieting, trying to get a hold of the weight, and we end up cutting out a lot of essential nutrients. And our metabolism and our whole functioning can't run properly without the nutrients. So it's like we diet, we cut things out to try to lose weight, but then we end up cutting out vitamins and minerals and restricting, which makes it harder. So I would say think about nourishing your body with nutrient rich foods. The last piece I just want to point out is that often, there's a lot more going on than simply calories in, calories out. It's often related to hormone imbalances. Underlying toxins can actually make it really hard to lose weight. Stress, oh my gosh, I know you mentioned your mindfulness practice. Stress literally completely changes our metabolism. So give yourself a little grace and understanding it's probably not related to your self-control or just needing to restrict more. There's probably something deeper going on underneath the surface, right? That root cause that's making it especially hard for your body to let go of that weight.
True, because I've also been learning to love myself the way I am right now, right this moment, like the now. I want to definitely every day I live in the now and enjoying life. And so I have been incorporating that self-care every day. So I'm waiting for the results, of course, but it's just one baby step at a time. Because, like I said, I've been through a lot of different programs, even the OptiFast diet for 3 months. I ate no food. I didn't even cheat or nothing. And I did lose weight, but for me, it's always keeping it off. And then I did another program where I dealt with, like it was like sort of like a point system. Like you lose. Like you have to watch where you eat, the place and time, what you're doing. Like mindful, a different kind of mindfulness. Like and it worked also. But the same thing starts happening after a while. Other factors come in, so it is a struggle. But
Yeah.
but thank you for that's good. You give me some points here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're focused and, like you said, learning to love yourself now, where you're at now. That's
Mhm.
so important. And just focusing on taking care of yourself. And often the weight kind of comes as a side
Mhm.
effect of that.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question. I want to share another quick thing about one of my last diets and question for you to see how you relate to. I don't know if you're familiar with Amy Myers. The elimination diet that we did was the Myers Way, and one of the things about it, because I had been carrying a nice kind of a little beer gut. I don't even drink that much beer, but I call it the beer belly. I've been carrying my gut since sometime after college, and that was the thing that like wasn't going away. And again, I was never really like really overweight, but I had that gut with me. And with one of the things doing the Myers Way diet was not only was it an elimination diet, but it was non-inflammatory
Mhm.
and cut out things that I thought were perfectly healthy, but it never occurred to me that certain things can just attribute to adding to your gut and your gut health. So that was like one of those like things like completely new knowledge to me, that even things I think that are healthy could still be adding to my gut issue.
Yeah, right. And that's where that personalized nutrition piece comes in. Because for some, let's take gluten, for example. For some people, gluten is extremely inflammatory. It can contribute to leaky gut, it can cause brain fog. I mean, it can be detrimental. For other people, gluten isn't really an issue. In fact, they can eat whole wheat and, barley and these nutrient rich whole grains and not notice any, negative side effects from that. So, to your point, for some people, certain quote unquote nutritious or healthy foods cause negative reactions. And I love that you brought up inflammation because, as Anna was talking about earlier, sometimes it's really hard to lose weight and it's not about the calories. Inflammation makes it, again, really, really hard to lose that weight. And that is often an underlying root cause of so many different symptoms. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of elimination diets if they're done short term to identify the root causes. And then once you've identified which foods are inflammatory or triggering for you, then you can reintroduce all the other ones and just leave out those pieces. And sometimes actually what I find is after eliminating some of those triggering foods, people can actually add them in like years later once their body has healed a bit more and they're not as inflammatory anymore.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So I've noticed that some things that I think are, like you said, that I think are healthy for me, it makes my stomach bloat. So I'm guessing that's like an allergic reaction, or maybe that's my stomach saying that's not good for my health.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. Have you noticed if there are any specific foods that are doing it?
Definitely like sugar,
Okay.
milk.
Okay.
I can definitely see a difference when I take that.
Are you having other symptoms in your body? Anything from brain fog to low energy to dry skin, eczema, acne to constipation, diarrhea, joint pain, anything else in your body that you're noticing that needs to be
Yes, brain fog, fatigue. I'm sleeping a lot more
Okay.
than ever.
It definitely sounds like definitely sounds like there's food sensitivities going on. What's really interesting is we can have an allergy to a food, like you mentioned, an allergic reaction. We can also have a sensitivity to it, which is a different kind of immune response. And those kinds of sensitivities cause symptoms all over the body. And it can be really hard to identify what's doing it because they can take a day, 2 days, 3 days even to come up after you've eaten the food. So let's say you have a sensitivity to sugar and dairy and you have ice cream. Maybe 3 days later, you have a headache, you're feeling really tired, and you're like, what in the heck caused this? How are you supposed to know it was 3 days before? Right?
Yeah.
So those food sensitivities are a really big piece of gut health in general. And Greg was mentioning earlier an elimination diet. That can be a really useful tool. Again, I highly, highly recommend to do this with a healthcare professional. But essentially, you want to remove all of the major food triggers for about a month. Some people like to do even longer, 2 months. And by getting rid of them all, okay, I want to use an analogy. So if you're sitting on like 10 tacks,
Okay.
right, and you take away one tack, it's probably not going to hurt any less, right? Like it's still going to hurt. And if you think about that with food sensitivities, let's say you have 3 or 4 different food sensitivities and you eliminate dairy, let's say, but the other ones are still in your diet, you might not notice improvements.
Okay.
So if we take all of them out, watch symptoms reduce. In the meantime, repair your gut, because when we're eating foods that we're sensitive to, it actually really damages the gut and then can lead to more sensitivities. So take out the foods, repair the gut, make sure we have lots of good bacteria, not too much, imbalances in there, and then introduce each food one by one every few days to see what happens with the symptoms. And that's how it's called a 5R approach. We want to remove whatever's triggering, replace whatever's gone that needs to be there. We want to repair the gut. We want to re-inoculate it with the good bacteria, and we want to rebalance it with our lifestyle.
And how do you repair the gut?
So to repair the gut, again, once those foods are gone that are triggering, we want to identify if there's inflammation in the gut. So it depends on what's going on. If there's inflammation in the gut, if you're maybe missing digestive enzymes or stomach acid. So we kind of have to identify what's going on, and then we can repair it with different foods, with different supplements, with different, even just like lifestyle practices. So it's really individual. I wish there was like a super simple answer I could give you, Denise, but it's so specific on what's going on with you and then taking that specific approach.
Okay. All right. Well, that helps me out though.
Okay, good. I hope it does. And if you want to chat more, feel free to, we can book a session and talk more about it. And I can try to give you a little bit more specifics, hear a little bit more about what's going on with you. Hopefully, some better guidance.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Denise.